Hi, I'm Phil, and today we're going to look at the Grove force sensor and one of the demo projects that I've done with that. So let's have a look at the device to start off with. It's called the round force sensor, and what happens when you apply with your finger some pressure to the top surface. The greater the pressure, the smaller the resistance. And that's used to input a voltage change to the analog port on one of the computers. And you can see the cost has gone up a bit since 2018. So let's have a look at some of the features of it. It's quite a durable device, although when you actually look at the change of temperature, change of resistance, it's not that accurate. So you wouldn't use it for precise measurements, but you can use it for things like automobile electronics, where you might have it as a safety device for car occupancy. In medical, you could use it for artificial limbs. And it's got some applications in other areas. One area could be for musical instruments, where the more pressure you put on, the louder the output of your MIDI musical instrument. Okay, let's have a look at it. The overall range for force measurements is from 0.2 newtons to 20 newtons. And you get an analog value. They give an analog output here, but I think that depends on the device that you're using to measure it. So if you're using a 8-bit analog to digital converter, you'll have 1024, and if you'll get more precision if you use a 14-bit, as in the Arduino R4. Okay, so we might move across and have a look at one of my projects. So I'm proposing quite a few new projects with this one, but at the moment, I've got two projects where I'm looking at showing the force value from the analog to digital converter onto the LEDs. Okay, so we'll get the values from 3 force sensitive resistors and show those results on the serial monitor of the Arduino serial monitor. And we'll also show the results on the Grove 4-digit display. So we'll show the code later, and we'll just look at the output was achieved. We're able to do that. And we might have a look at some of the references. Stay tuned and we'll have a look at the software and a performance in operation. So if you're interested in the device, go across to Seed, to the bazaar or the shop. There's a wiki on the product. And I've also purchased additional force sensitive resistors from Adafruit. And they give the values. You can see it's non-linear, and Adafruit has a much more comprehensive website. And also, you can have a look at similar devices to construct load cells from SparkFun. Okay, stay tuned for the software. So we now go across to the Arduino IDE and program in C++. So we're having a look at the constants that we set up. We're assigning the sensor for the force resistive measurements to pins A0, A2, and A6, and they're all done here. And we set up 3 force variables, And then we initialize our Grove 4-digit display. We set up the comms and the 4-digit display. And after that, we're going to look at the loop. It's going to read the analog signals for port 0, 2, and 6, print those out, and it's also going to call the force update routine. And in that force update routine, it just simply takes the port A0 measurements or results and shows them on the 3 digits. And that's the software for our force sensor resistor measurements. So let's have a look at the connections for the hardware. We start off with the Seeeduino Nano computer, and we're going to add a Grove Shield to that. And that allows us to add additional devices like sensors and actuators. And we need to add the computer with a USB cable, and that'll be for downloading the program and also for monitoring the results. We add our analog connections to ports A0, A2, and A6, and that allows the force resistive sensors to be connected to the analog ports of our Nano computer. And finally, we add the Grove 4-digit display, and we're only going to look at the results of analog port 0 or the force resistive sensor 0 on that display. This is our desktop arrangement for the force sensitive resistors. So we're using components from Seeeduino. We've got sensors. The only difference in these 3 force sensitive resistors is that I've got an elongated one and 2 round ones, and they're going into the analog ports of a Seeeduino Nano computer. So they go into ports A0, A2, and A6. And the results go on a 4-digit display and onto the serial port. So if I press so I'm pressing on 1 at the moment, and you can see the results are coming up on the 4-digit display, then back to 0 again. And I can also see the results on the computer. What we'll do is just have a look and see if we can see them. So over here on the computer, on the serial port, you can see that I've got measurements for port 6. Okay, so what we might do is show the plotted results, and I'm going to go back and have a look at those, show the serial plotter. Okay, so we'll bring this across, and as I press on port 1, you can see that I can actually get values changing now. This is port or value 2. You can tell by the color measurements on here. So I'm going to take my fingers away from that, and I'll go on to port 0, and I've changed the value on that now. I'm releasing my hand on that, and I might change port 6. So this is port 6 in green now, and you can see that's also varying as I change, put my fingers across the sensor.